Thanks again for attending today's quarterly webinar update and Q&A. I'm Brent Cook, Director of Product Management for Summon, and we have a few things we'd like to cover today. First, I'll start off by talking a little bit about some of the highlights from 2019, some of the improvements we did in the second half of the year there, as well as some updates on some of those changes. I'll talk a little bit about what you can expect in our next release, which is coming up here in February, and it's the launch of CDI for Summon. I'll talk to you a little bit about the Summon roadmap and where we stand on that, and give you an idea of some upcoming webinars and other ways that you can engage with us in some conferences I'll be at, and hopefully I'll be able to see that. So let's start off by talking about a little bit of the things we did in 2019. We had 4 quarterly releases. We'll follow the same pattern again this year. First Wednesday of each month will be either a maintenance release, or in February, May, August, and November, we will have our quarterly releases. As you can see from the slide, we had a really busy year last year. In addition to doing all the work to prepare for CDI, we had a variety of new features that we released for Summon. One of the things we did early in the year was to do some improvements around Topic Explorer. In addition to being able to manage the look and feel of Topic Explorer, being able to determine which of the elements of Topic Explorer appeared in what order, and being able to turn those pieces on and off. We also added some new content for use in the reference entry, particularly from Oxford University Press. We added a lot of bibliography information at the beginning of the year, and just in the last month or so, we've added a couple more sources from Oxford University Press. So if you have a subscription to Oxford University Press, you can use this content as part of your reference answers. We just added Grove music and very short introductions. We also added related items. This is a feature we plan to expand on in the future. Currently, it's focused around books. With books, you can now turn this feature on and have related items of book reviews and chapters show up associated with that title. So for any title that we have, if we're able to make a relationship between book reviews or chapters and that title, the reviews and chapters button will show up here in the results set if you have this turned on. And then when you click it, it will expand to provide this right-hand column that has book reviews and chapters. Again, if there isn't anything associated with it for a book review or a chapter, only one tab will show up. But if both materials are available, those will appear in that right-hand column. We also did a variety of changes around facets. This is one of the top items voted on for the new enhancement request system or NERS by Igloo and Luna last year. There are a variety of features that were on the roadmap from that, and we will be adding some for this year as well. You can now customize facets to meet your needs. You can change the background color if you'd like. The one on the right-hand side here you can see is gray, but you can change that to whatever color you'd like using a hexadecimal value. You can also change the order in which the various facets turn on or appear and turn them on or off. And you can decide which one are expanded or collapsed. And it's a subtle change, but I think it's an important one. We added a little indicator next to the titles, a little arrow that's pointing up or down there to show you if something is collapsed or expanded. Previously, without that visual indicator, just the title sometimes made it look as if there wasn't anything beneath that. So hopefully this indicator will give your users a better cue and better interaction with that facet pane. We also added public notes to the system. If you want to, you can now display database notes, database all title notes, title level notes, and title location notes in your instance of Summon. If those are associated with a result, then those will appear if you turn this on. Then when we first launched this, some folks were having some issues with having it appear in the preview environment. That issue is resolved. If you haven't tried this out, go check it out in the preview environment. And for all these features, I'll just take a moment to remind you that the preview environment is available all the time. If you want to go out and check these out and see what they look like, please feel free to do so. The preview environment isn't highly available, so as we get closer to the release and the update of that environment, you may find some times where it's not available for a few minutes, but if you just wait a little while, it will be available, and you can go in and make whatever changes you'd like. Something else to note on the preview environment, though, that if you do change them, once we do launch the next preview environment, which will be on January 22nd, it will be reset with the new functionality. We also did some improvements around our reporting in Summon through OBI or Oracle Business Intelligence. We added some open access reporting. Now when you go into the facet usage report, you'll be able to see there, you can see that red box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Now any sort of counts for open access will show up here. These are demo numbers. If you go in, hopefully you'll see even better usage of that open access facet and where it's applied. We also added IDL reporting. Both of these were important items for the analytics working group with Illumina and Igloo, as well as top voted items for the new enhancement request system, or NERS, last year. So we're excited to have added those in. We plan on doing more reporting in 2020. IDL reporting helps you see what content is being used by showing which clicks are going to what providers. The clicks are reported by providers. To find this report, go into OBI and into the catalog page. There is a folder called the Summon Community folder. Click on that folder and you'll see title clicks in that folder, and that's the report that will give you this information. We also made some improvements around videos. In particular, we did better treatment around the visuals on the results. We added a thumbnail image, more thumbnail images to appear next to video content. And in addition, we superimposed a play icon on top of that thumbnail and made it so that if you click on that thumbnail, you'll go as directly as possible to the video based on the provider. So in some cases, that goes straight to a player where you can watch the video, or a landing page where the video plays as well. And then finally, in Q4, in the November release, we were able to do the first pass at adding Unpay Wall to the results. What this means is for any result where we can make a match between the Unpay Wall identifiers and the record, we will display a link to the PDF. It's labeled as PDF, but you can go to the translations page and change that to whatever language you'd like. That should then take you to the full text without any need of an additional login there on Unpay Wall. As I mentioned, this was our first pass at the Unpay Wall functionality. Currently, the way we've implemented it, it is not recognized by the facets. So open access is not, records marked with Unpay Wall are not necessarily marked as open access, so that facet will not necessarily be impacted by Unpay Wall. Same with items beyond your library's collection. In 2020, we will be working on improving that, adding more facet functionality. But at the very least, again, go to the preview environment and take a look at it and give us any feedback that you have on the features so far. There was a lot more that we did in 2019, but I'd like to take a moment to talk about what we have coming up here in the first quarter of 2020. And in February, that's the introduction of CDI and a couple of new features that you can expect to see out of that. I know I've mentioned this before, but it's always worth repeating. This should be a seamless transition. The CDI will launch with the Q1 release of this year. The preview becomes available in about 2 weeks on January 22nd, and will be live in production on February 5th. It should be seamless. There's no change in the user interface. We are adding some functionality, but in order to make that appear in the user interface, you'll need to go turn that on. There's no changes to the API, no changes to activation. Any additional features will be configurable again, and you can take a look at them in preview prior to the activation. So no matter what type of Summon user you are, whether you're using our API, you're using Summon on Ralma, or using Summon as a standalone product, when you wake up on February 5th, your site should just be working the same way it was on February 4th. It should be similar to a monthly maintenance release. And if you're unfamiliar with the monthly maintenance release, we actually had one at the beginning of December and at the beginning of January, and you probably didn't even notice anything changed. It's seamless and quiet. And I will send an announcement when we're live with everything. But you'll get to take a look at the preview, whether it's an API user, a Summon over Ralma user, or a UI user, and try that out in the preview environment starting January 22nd. We have a variety of improvements for Summon that come out of this. In particular, we have an upgrade to Solar 7 and other various components of the system that have improved performance overall, making things more reliable, faster to respond, and whatnot. This is great because we continue to add to the index and to the functionality on the page, so performance is always key to monitor. I'll talk a little bit more about the index in a moment. New facets that will be available as of February are an author-creator facet, a collection facet, and you'll also have the ability to sort results by title or author. We've also got some match and merge improvements, and the ability to search by ORCIDs, and some new content providers and institutional repositories. And I'll share some details about each of those. So new facets, again, the ability to sort by author or creator. There'll be the ability to, facet by author creator, as well as the ability to sort by title or author. We'll have the collections database facet as well. You just go into the customizer or the admin console, as you can see here on the screen, and just make sure that's dragged over to enabled, and it'll be ready to go. We'll also have coming in March in the maintenance release there a recently added items facet that will allow you to show the most recently added items to the index for your instance of Summit. I also mentioned some match and merge improvements. There are a lot of match and merge improvements coming through to reduce duplicates as part of the CDI initiative. We went through and reviewed everything from relevance to speed and performance to how we merge records and how we reduce duplicates, as well as looking at the various providers and adding more content. In order to make sure that this index is working well, we saw some good areas where we can improve that deduplication process, that match and merge process, which again, the match and merge gives you the great benefit of the use of all of the metadata associated with a single piece of content for relevance, but then make sure that it displays what's best for your patrons and the links that are available for your patrons to get to the content. And so some of the things we did to help reduce some of the duplication was we added newsletters to the merge process. Previously, those had not been available or had not been included as part of the match and merge process, and so that should reduce the overall footprint of that content type. We improved subtitle handling, a variety of error cases or issues were preventing things that had a variety of other matches within the metadata, but for some reason the subtitle didn't match and was preventing them from merges. A good example of that would be if there's a stray character or two within the subtitle field, that could prevent something from matching. So we reduced that, those variations and made that a little bit more friendly. We increased the overmatch limit. So what the overmatch limit is when you have a large number of records merging, just in case there's an error case where we made the rules too simple for a particular type of record. We worry that over a few thousand records merging could be a problem, and so we automatically don't merge those records. As the index has grown, it was originally set years ago at 1,000. We've increased that number because with as many records we have and as many institutions we have participating in the index, there's a larger number of records that can merge for a single piece of content that's very ubiquitous within the system. We also relaxed some of the language matching issues that we have, and for all these match and merge rules, I should say, we have a variety of components we look at. We look for multiple components to match before we do a merge, and we were finding that some different elements were preventing a match, even though you may have 3, 4, 5 different data points that allow you to match. And so a lot of this is cleaning that up. There was a discrepancy between the language detected and cislanguage fields, and we've relaxed that matching to improve there. We standardized quotation marks to ensure that the various formats of quotation marks don't prevent merging, and we added some more synonyms and looked at how we were handling that. We also added the ability to search by Orchid. So if you want to search by that in Summit, you can search directly in the search box, type in the ID, and it should include both authors and contributors and return those. We also, over the last year, have made a big push to add more ORCIDs to the index. When we started this back in September, or when we started tracking this, we had about 1.2 million ORCID IDs in the index. Now we have 8.2 million ORCIDs in the index. So we've added about 7 million over the last few months. And we'll continue that push, but for now, again, I think you'll see a good amount of records that return when you do those ORCID ID searches. So I've mentioned it a couple of times today, but I just want to give you some details around that. We have had some immense content growth in the last year. We're up to 225 million open access records in the index. That's up from 200 million at the beginning of 2019, and that doesn't include those Unpay Wall links. We have 61 new open access institutional repositories available as well. When I send out the release notes, I'll be sure to send details on the names of those institutional repositories, as well as the new providers that you have. And we've added 38 new providers, and we'll continue to do so in 2020. And we've now grown to almost 4 billion, 3.944 billion records in the index. That's an increase over 500 million in last year. We started the year with about 3.4 billion records in 2019. And then finally, for February, we'll continue our work on linked data. At the end of last year in the Q4 release, we finished up doing a lot of the index work that we needed to do in order to make sure that data was there for use. This quarter, we are working on the landing pages, the sitemaps themselves, and doing some testing with Google and other search engines to make sure that things are set up properly for us to be able to do indexing. So we'll continue that refinement in the February release because we have to sort of make some changes, see the reaction from the search engine. It will take a little bit of time to refine this. In 2020, we will be adding back-end configuration and management tools. That'll be part of the 2020 roadmap, and that'll give you the ability to determine what type of searches or pages you want to have show up as a sitemap for your site, and then get some feedback on what pages are created or how many pages are created as well. So that brings me to the roadmap planning for 2020. By this point in the year, we usually have the roadmap finalized. However, we are in the middle of the new enhancement request and mirrors voting session right now. That will finish up on January 21st. Once that's done, I'll take the results from that, from the Idea Exchange, Topic Explorer, and Database Recommender focus groups, from the Analytics Working Group that I mentioned earlier, looking at what we need to do for Summon Overall and just the overall goals for Summon, and we'll finalize the roadmap by the end of this month. Probably one of the biggest things to focus in on is the Idea Exchange and mirrors, though, because that's where you have a direct impact on what can be within the product. The top voted items on the Idea Exchange, I'm already doing an assessment of what we can do and what we can provide in 2020 around those. We know those are important features to you. They certainly look like ones that are appropriate for the product. So we're already reviewing and sizing and scoping those for 2020. And then we'll add in the things from mirrors. So we took the top ideas that weren't at the very top and guaranteed to be in as part of the product for 2020 and put those into the voting system. Once that's completed, we'll take the top ones from that and add those. The ideas here on the page, such as providing the ability to separate books and ebooks, better display of 5xx fields, custom JS, CSS fields to simplify UI customization. All of those are the top ideas on the Idea Exchange right now. If the voting in mirrors reflects what's happening on the Idea Exchange, you'll likely see a lot of these get into the roadmap as well. But again, this is a sampling. I'll provide the finalized list at the end of the month. Here's some of the things that Topic Explorer and Database Recommender focus groups have been recommending. The ability to improve bias reduction, that will be an ongoing process, but we'll see what we can do in 2020 to improve that, as well as better documentation overall, and working on the user interface for both Topic Explorer and Database Recommender. We're also looking at how to improve the back-end management of these products as well, so that it's simpler for you to do batch processes or activation or anything else, make it much easier for you to curate and rank sources. And then finally, we'll do some more improvements around OBI. Some of the top things that have been requested and the things that we need to address include making advanced searches clear from regular searches, where currently all searches are lumped together, IP address reporting, add the ability to see the excludes versus includes for facets, and a variety of other things. Finally, I want to take a moment to talk about some of the upcoming opportunities you have to learn more about the product and to hopefully meet with one of us at one of our conferences or user group meetings. So the next thing that we have coming up on January 22nd is a customer session around analytics and Summon. Sarah Tedesco from Yale, Angela Simmons from Yale, and Tabitha Farney from the University of Colorado and Colorado Springs will be presenting this. And we look forward to hearing what they have to say about analytics and Summon and what they're doing. At the end of this month, as I mentioned, I'll roll out that roadmap once I have the finalized list of mirrors enhancements. These sessions will be 3, similar to what we're doing yesterday and today on January 29th and 30th. And we'll post the times for those as they're available. And then on February 5th, we have another customer session on integration and interoperability with other products. And we have Steve Brown from the University of Colorado in Boulder and James Day from Embry-Riddle University presenting for that. You can register at the URL you can see on the screen, and I do believe Scott will post those both in the emails when we send out the follow-up to this and in the chat tool here in today's webinar. Some of these webinars, we have some in-person events we'd love to see you at. I will be in Philadelphia at the end of the month from January 24th to 28th for ALA Midwinter. There's a variety of ways to engage with us. I'll be doing a discovery session on Friday at 1:30, so come on by if you'd like to see that. We have a breakfast on Sunday that I'll be at as well. And if you can't make either of those, or you just want some one-on-one time to talk to me about whatever you need to around Summon or your other Ex Libris products, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to see you there. I'll also be in Austin, Texas on March 8th through 11th at ERNL. And again, we'll have a variety of events there you can participate in. And there's a URL there that will take you to a list of what we have going, and we'll keep that updated. And then May 4th through 8th, we'll be in Los Angeles for the Luna Developers Days. We do have proposals being accepted through January 17th, so please send in your ideas for what you'd like to present or talk about in Luna, and we look forward to seeing you there as well. And there will be more events in 2020. This just takes us through a few of the first ones in the first half of the year, so we'll keep you posted as those things come along. And that brings me to the end of my prepared slides. Thanks everyone for taking a moment out of your day to attend this webinar and find out a little bit about what's happening in 2020. Please feel free to email me at the email you can see on the screen there. And of course, the listserv is always a great place to post questions as well. I hope to see you in one of my various visits to user groups or conferences. And if not, again, you can reach me online.